Namaste, dear friends, and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you on the 23rd day of this marathon that we have been doing for the Global Festival of Yoga to celebrate wellness. This program is being organized by Indica Yoga, that is dedicated to promoting authentic, immersive and transformative teachings and practices from the yoga tradition. We've had an array of wonderful topics that have been presented before you thus far. Last night we had a special dialogue that was coordinated by the Global Peace Initiative of Women on the important role that yoga has and its relationship with mystical traditions of the world. We also had before this a talk by Narayanji from Yoga Vedanta Als, who spoke on the Bhagavad Gita, the book par excellence. Today we have another wonderful talk on yoga in the Bhagavad Gita by Swamini Svatmavidyananda. The Gita needs no kind of elaboration because we know that it is a book that has given rise to several definitions of the term yoga, including yoga, karma, sukaushalam that we have heard in the context of the workplace. How do we excel in our workplace? How do we excel in work using yoga or being established in yoga? Yoga also has been defined as samatvam yoga uchyate, the state of equanimity. I will not tell you more about this because we are here to listen to Swamini ji to enlighten us on these aspects of the Gita and its understanding and its expressions of the beauty and power of yoga and how do we practice it in our lives. A few words about Swamini. Swamini is a very well-known and excellent speaker. She's invited on various forums across the world. Dr. Swamini Svatmavidyananda Saraswati has taught at several universities, nationally and internationally, in universities like UC Berkeley. She is widely recognized as a scholar of Advaita Vedanta and is a disciple of Pujya Sri Swami Dayananda Saraswati, an internationally known Acharya of Advaita Vedanta tradition. She is an interfaith leader as well and a scholastic author of Vedanta, responsible for the inception of the All India Movement for Seva, AIM for Seva, a non-profit enabling rural Indian, a non-profit organization enabling rural Indian children to receive a proper education. I just want to say a word. Swamini was recently part of another global festival celebrating Shankaracharya's life and teachings. In that, this festival was a celebration of oneness, and in fact our festival was inspired by that to celebrate wellness. So Swamini was another speaker, one of the eminent speakers on that forum. So those of you who have enjoyed this particular sharing, this particular season of celebrating wellness, must look at this the previous celebration that took place on oneness that was organized by Advait Academy as well. Swamini is widely in demand for lectures and seminars, as I mentioned, in the USA and internationally for her expertise in interreligious engagement and in-depth training and scholarship on Advaita Vedanta. Dr. Saraswati is the Acharya of Arsha Vijnana Gurukulam, which was founded in 2004 and has centers in Atlanta, Eugene, Washington, D.C., Detroit, Milwaukee, and Fort Meyers. We've been collaborating with the Global Peace Initiative of Women, of which she's a founding member, and she has therefore traveled globally addressing the ever-increasing challenges that face humanity in a global ethos. An erudite scholar, Swamini ji addresses contemporary challenges facing the world, from global warming to religious social unrest, and in her unfolding of the Upanishads, the foundational spiritual texts of the Hindu tradition, she shares with us wisdom from these timeless texts so that we can benefit from them and lead better, more meaningful lives full of wellness and peace. Thank you very much, Swamini ji, for accepting to be with us. We're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one thing for the audience. You would have questions. Please make sure that you're putting them in the Q&A box here.
Thank you very much for such a long introduction. You know, sometimes it is the message of yoga and Vedanta is to live now, right here. And so the whatever accolades that may be associated with this upadhi or this body-mind complex is just for it is just, we have to take it as Ishvara's vibhuti, a glory of the Lord. as it is talked about in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan Krishna, you know, takes back the intellectual copyright of all the things that we think belong to us. And that is partly the spirit of yoga, the word yoga itself, and we will be discussing that. But first, in keeping with the custom, in keeping with our Sanatana Dharma's custom, we begin with a Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So welcome to the Global Yoga Festival, and beautifully organized by Indica. And whatever Indica does, it's just, samskritam. Yeah, very well done. And so the topic for today, without much ado, is yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. And as our Anuradha has already pointed out, there are some ways in which the word yoga is defined in the Bhagavad Gita that is important to look at. And she mentioned the first two, which are very well known, and which from her introduction to this talk, I gather that whoever has been attending has already has a little bit of exposure to the first two definitions. I will talk about that a little more, briefly, and then we'll focus more on the last definition, and that will be more pertinent also in a different way for our lives, for our day-to-day lives. And we will end with some practical tips of how to accomplish yoga in the everyday life. That is what we will be doing. So the word yoga is very interesting. We have three root verbs in Sanskrit. All of them somehow, yuj, yujir, yuja, like this. We have three root verbs belonging to different conjugations. And then somehow in this particular masculine form, noun form, it becomes yoga. And the derivations will be very different. And since this is not a grammar class, we thankfully don't have to go into the derivations and risk attrition of all the participants. And so we just, so we focus now on the, on just the beauty of how it all comes to the same word, yoga, but with slightly different meanings. So the first, sense, yuja, in the sense of samyama, discipline. Samyame, yuja, samyame, discipline. Some kind of a discipline, some kind of a, what is that, a focus, discipline. That's the first meaning of the first root verb, And then we have another, this is the popular meaning, yuja samadhau, samadhau, meaning in the sense of nirodhe, in the sense of stopping, coming to a standstill, where we have in the initial Yoga Sutra, yoga chitta vritti nirodha, there that yoga is defined as nirodha in the sense of a cessation, And then finally we have yujir yoge, that the last word, the last meaning of the yoga is what we know. It's another popular meaning in the sense of a kind of a uniting, bringing together, yoge, as in various different extremities that are never meant to meet, correct? Like the hands and the feet, and in Uttanasana they come together despite of what, Madhya Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, the, the, the middle portion of the body, you know. And despite that, somehow miraculously, various body parts, meet one another. And in this is, this is one example of Yojir Yoge. And then, these are all very philosophical definitions, and these are all, they are rooted in Vedanta, they are rooted in Yoga Shastra, and so therefore, they are, even though they are used in the everyday language, we are today going to look at their philosophical meaning and their application to our everyday lives, because that is something which is very, very important to do, and I hope it will help us in expanding some of the ways in which we look at ourselves and people and the world around us, the people around us, and in which we look at Bhagavan, Ishvara, and the connection to that as well. So in the Bhagavad Gita, all these three ways are very nicely looked upon. Like, for example, they're very nicely elucidated. So in the sixth chapter, for example, we find an array of the ways in which these definitions come to life, and yoga here in the sense of joining what? Joining this jiva, this individual being that always is complaining, feels trapped in this body-mind complex, feels, a sense of constraint centered on the self, a sense of dissatisfaction. No matter how much one achieves, it is never enough. Never enough, never enough. There's a constant sense of consternation, like this is not okay. And then there is a constant sense of what's next. This in Hindi we call it the fir kya psychology. Iske baad kya? What now? And people even say, after enlightenment, what? Because the word, self-knowledge, enlightenment, etc. is not understood. Because we are so oriented to achieving something or the other, and we are so set in our minds that whatever we achieve is not going to be enough, is not going to be fulfilling enough. So then we have to already plan for what comes next. This is our problem. But yoga means that there is no next. There is only you. That yoga means after this union, yojir, yoge, there's nothing else to aspire for. Why? Because, understanding which Brahman, understanding which Bhagavan as yourself, Jagat Karanam Brahma as yourself, there is nothing else to aspire for. All desires are felled in one stroke. This is the vision of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, therefore, is a moksha shastra. It is, this is what the whole thing is. It is a moksha shastra, it is not a karma shastra, despite what, even though it inspires people to do action cheerfully, and all this action, we are told, is for that spiritual growth, and that spiritual growth is for that unification of, this complaining, moaning, groaning jiva. With what? With the truth of itself, that it is aspiring to, that infinite Bhagavan, which is the truth of itself, which it does not know. This is the vision of Bhagavad Gita. So that's why the two topics in the Bhagavad Gita, which is Brahma Vidya and then what? Yoga Shastra, they go in tandem. Yoga Shastra means how to achieve this. How to achieve this oneness. This oneness is actually, the achieve we have to put in quotes. In fact, if you are a Vedantin, you have to go with your hands like this all the time, because everything is as though. Because you are already one with Bhagavan. Who said you are separate? No, I don't feel like I'm one. I feel alienated. I feel like an idiot. I feel so far away. That's why I sit and sing sad song, darshan kab doge. All these things I do. Because there is a sense, and that sense is an as though sense of not knowing that I'm already one. And so therefore we have to as though walk back and as though do some asanas, as though sit and meditate, as though sit and get distracted, and as though scold ourselves, why am I getting distracted, and as though sit and meditate again. So this is the beauty of this. The whole life is like this, And in fact, the Mandukya Upanishad says this: Dhyayati iva, lelayati iva. Iva. That iva means as though. So the whole Vedanta Shastra is iva. And this yoga is also iva, as though, because there is no the truth on the level of the absolute paramarthika sattayam. From the standpoint of the absolute, there is no separation. In the absolute, there is only one. You are already one. You are already the seeker. You are already the sought. You are one with what you want to be already. It's an established siddha vastu. It is not sadhya vastu. This is Brahma Vidya. But then we say, how do I do this? But I don't know. Okay, if you don't know, then you need a way of life, a conducive way of life to be able to achieve, assimilate this knowledge, to be able to get rid of self-ignorance. And that is what is called Yoga Shastra. And this, to remind ourselves of this, we repeat this after every chapter. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita su Upanishadsu, which is like an Upanishad, in this Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Vidyayam, this first topic, Brahma Vidya, this vision of the self as already one. Even though one is complaining, the essential truth of one is a non-complaining individual, one with Bhagavan. And then what? Yoga Shastre. This is Yoga Shastra. How to lead our lives in such a way as to achieve this unification, to assimilate this unification in a manner that is conducive to the vision. Because there should be some kind of a connection between the vision espoused by the Bhagavad Gita, by Vedanta Upanishads, and by our leading of our everyday lives. It cannot be a disconnect. If you're teaching something like, a subject, aparavidya, like any kind of a branch of knowledge, let's say one is a professor of microbiology, okay? So you're teaching microbiology for, 25 years. So the professor of microbiology, after 25 years of teaching and being immersed in the microbiology Shastra, does not become a microbe, You don't have to look for the professor under a microscope after 25 years. But the person immersed in Brahma Vidya, Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. So the knower of Brahman is Brahman already. There is no separation between the subject matter and oneself. And so the professor of microbiology can have marital problems, can have, can be estranged from their children, but still be a complete expert in talking about coronavirus and in everything. They can be wonderful because there is a disconnect, and that disconnect is not supposed to be bridged because those are two different aspects of one's life. One can compartmentalize. Here there is no compartmentalization. The compartmentalization is not possible because the subject matter is you, which is all. The subject matter is Ishvara, which is everything. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. All this here is verily, permeated by Ishvara, and so therefore there is no disconnect. And so therefore what? Therefore we need a kind of a way of life to go along with the vision. That which helps me to assimilate the vision. Because there cannot be a disconnect between what I do, how I eat, where I practice, how I practice, and then the vision that I am aspiring to assimilate. And so therefore, with this introduction, we can look at the definitions of the word, yoga. And the first two, which Anuradha has very helpfully pointed out, I will just briefly touch upon because that is something you have been exposed to already. And the last one, we will take it up a little more in detail. So the first one,
if I may, We have touched upon them very briefly, but please do it in your unique, joyful manner. So please.
Okay, but I'm also looking at the time, yeah. So I didn't mean to put it all on you, but anyhow, I just also, in the interest of time, so I'll do it briefly, and the last one, we will do it a little more because that is a little harder. It is, that is not easily available to people, and but that is the most relevant. Okay. So the first two people know somewhat, but I will deal with it. Okay, yeah. So I will talk about that as well. No problem. So the first one, is samatvam. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Uchyate, it is said. What? Samatvam, equanimity, yoga. Equanimity is yoga. Equanimity, what? Of course, we are talking all about in terms of the day-to-day actions. Equanimity of action means you cannot keep doing the same actions all the time. And you cannot also expect the same results. So therefore, where is this equanimity centered on? It's not centered on the action. You cannot have the sameness. It's not centered on the result of action. It is in fact centered on in the heart. How do I accept the result of action? And here the choices are very clear. Why? Because again, from the famous sentence in the Bhagavad Gita, we know that you cannot have a say over the results of action. Karmani eva adhikarah te. You are only entitled to action. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Not at any time are you in charge of the results of action. This seems like a very unfair setup. ये क्या बात है? Who is the one who is acting? Me. So if I am acting, I should be able to reproduce the results of action. If I want a job, I should go for an interview and ace it because I've done everything. I have done the preparation, I have googled the board members, I have found out all their details, including how many children they have and how many marriages they have had. All these things I have found out. And then I want to, tell them all these things. And then I want to just sit and, I sit for the interview and I feel like I have aced it. And then no call comes. No call comes. And then later I find out that the offer has been made to my rival. This good for nothing fellow who doesn't have any work ethics, nothing. Why did this happen? Well, what we would say is that, karmani eva adhikarahate. You were able to, corral, like lasso all the known variables. You were able to corral all the known variables and then you were on top of it, yes. But there are many a slip between the cup and the lip, between you and the job. Why? Because there are hidden variables. That's why we love our Ganesha, and without Ganesha, the life of a Vedika doesn't start, Vaidika doesn't start. Because those obstacles are what? Those obstacles are not mandates of Bhagavan, they are manifestations of Bhagavan in one's very life, and that is how we have to take it. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So samatvam here is understanding precisely that one is not in charge of the results of action. And that between oneself and whatever one aspires, there are many hidden variables. And these hidden variables come in the way. And the hidden variables, we have another, word for it. It is called karma. And that karma is also a manifestation of Bhagavan. It's a law. Karma is a law. As you sow, so shall you reap. Even in other religions, we have this. We have this maxim. So that somehow that much is understood. But we extend karma. We have very relaxed about karma. We don't feel like everything has to be achieved in this life. That's why no Hindu makes a bucket list. Yeah, we don't have a bucket list. I have to accomplish this. No, nothing. I can just say, okay, better luck next life. And that is something to aspire to. And in fact, when we do tarpanam, when a person passes away in the funerary rites, the people say, this time you did not get a spouse like you wanted. Better luck next time. You did not get children who adored you in the way that you would have wanted. Next life, we give our prayers to you, so that next life, in your next incarnation, may you achieve this. Same thing with this. You did not achieve this understanding of the fact that you are one with Bhagavan. Next time, yes. And Name Bhakta Pranashyati. Bhagavan gives this promise. The bhakta is never destroyed, because even if you have some strong desire for Vedanta, ayatihi shraddhayopetah yoga chalitamanasah kangatim krishna gacchati chinnabhramiva nashyati kim. Arjuna is very worried. He has listened to 5 chapters of Bhagavad Gita and he says, what if I miss this knowledge? Ye sab bekar jayega, all this will be wasted. So what are you going to do? Help me here. And then, Bhagavan Krishna reassures him. Prapya punya chitan lokan. So he will get all the things from the karma phala, get a new body. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashtha Abhijayate Athava Yoginam Eva Kule Bhavati Dhimatam. He's born to Jnanis. He or she is born, that jiva is born to people where this kind of a knowledge is conducive to learn this kind of a knowledge. Very beautiful, Yeah, because what's the point of being born in Denmark or somewhere there? You have a nice life, but very difficult. Maybe slightly different in this time of virtual Vedanta, but otherwise difficult. It's difficult to find exposure to this knowledge. So nothing is lost, and so therefore this law of karma dictates the results of action. And then before you start concluding that the law of karma is something being imposed, it's your own karma. Your own karma, through the exercise of your own free will, either in this or other lives, you are attracting the results of action. Bana ke rakha hai, it's already set. This is what the whole thing is. So, very beautiful. So therefore what? I have no other option except to go with the flow. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Because I am the one who had sowed the seeds for the results of the action. Like when you cook something, you forget to put some masala at the right time. And then you talk on the phone, you're seeing something and you get distracted and the thing is burnt to a crisp. And now it is not easy to cook again because you have a meeting afterwards, another Zoom meeting. So what are you going to do? You have to eat it. Yeah. Prarabdham ihatu bhujyatam. Adi Shankara's words. You have to eat your karma phala literally in the form of some kind of a burnt rice pulao or whatever you have, some khichdi you have made, it got burnt, it's okay. You eat it. This is what you have to do. You have to say, okay, next time I'll be more mindful. Here also same thing. I didn't get the job. Next time I'll be more accommodative. Next time I'll be more mindful. Next time I'll be more accepting. So, of course, the Bhagavad Gita strives for the ideal and says you should have a sense of glad acceptance. It's a very tall order. So we can actually put the glad in parenthesis, acceptance. Complain a little bit, it's okay, you're a jiva after all, you can complain a little bit. You can say, Ayyo, what happened over here? Why me? 7 billion people in the earth, everyone saying, why me alone it is happening to at the same time. Complain a little bit. But you grow into samatvam. You grow. And then in this growth, at some point you question, are all these aspirations worth even fulfilling, because they are so difficult to fulfill, and maybe I should be looking into something else, and that something else is converting the actions into self-growth. This is what the whole thing is. Samatvam yoga uchyate. And this is the first definition, in fact, of what we call karma yoga, is that we learn to accept, we grow into, slowly, gradually, maybe over even many lifetimes, no problem, we nonetheless grow into accepting the results of action, and we grow into accepting them cheerfully. This is what the whole thing is. And that cheerfulness is called prasada buddhi. Prasada buddhya svikuru. You take it like prasada. And prasada, of course, as my teacher used to say, it has no, it's a Sanskrit word without an English translation. And if you want the English word for prasada, it is prasada. That's all. It is not, there is no translation. Prasada is a kind of an attitude of cheerful acceptance. Much like you go to a place of worship, you go to a temple, and then somebody has offered laddus, and you get a nice laddu, and then swaha. First you say aha, then you say swaha, finished. You have become one with the laddu, and that oneness was very delightful, a sweet oneness you enjoy with the laddu, and then this becomes your ishta devata because of the laddu. Okay, yeah, this becomes your desired temple. Then next week you go to no laddu, and not even a priest to welcome you. The priest is on break, and then some little water is kept with a little tulsi leaf, some small little miserable thing of water with a little tulsi leaf, and you have to just put that and sip and go. And you say, what is this? You can't fight there and say, you see the priest, hey, where is my laddu? You say, this is what came for me today. Next week, Hanumanji is wearing a mala of vadas, very nice vadas, crispy, and you can actually smell it as you go close to him. You can taste it. Wonderful. You wait for it. And then the week after that again, water. And all this is there in the temple culture, in the Acharya of the temple, to be able to take all the karma phala in the same way as you take prasada in the temple. Same thing even in the Christian, in the Catholic tradition. They give some, bread and wine. They don't call it bread and wine. This is the body of Christ. This is the blood of Christ. And you can't fight with the person, who is giving this and say, that person had more wine, I got little less. Whatever comes, you have to say, Om Namaha. This is what was there for me. And so therefore, you learn to, you calm down. This is samatvam yoga uchyate. But this is not enough for unification. This is not complete in the terms of even for the practice of assimilating Brahma Vidya in the day-to-day life, in the way of preparing the mind for Brahma Vidya. Because samatvam yoga uchyate, even a pickpocket can say, I have accomplished samatvam. Pickpocket, the small petty thief can say that. Petty offender can say that. How can you say you have samatvam and therefore I am a yogi? Well, I have said, I have told Bhagavan that, I pray every morning. Har pocket mein hariyali rahe. Let every pocket be lined with greenery. And then I can go and put my hand in the pocket in a crowded train or whenever the person is not looking. And I have accepted. If the pocket is full of greens, I will say, Namaste Astu Bhagavan. Otherwise, I will also say, okay, this is not meant to be. And if the worst thing happens and I am caught and clapped in jail, that's okay also. I have accepted. Is this person a yogi? Doesn't feel like such a person is a yogi, right? Why? And that's what brings us to the second definition of yoga karmasu kaushalam. Kaushalam, although, again we describe it, translate it as what is that? Skill in action. Skill in action is yoga. It means nothing. Where is the skill? Skill is not in the action like the pickpocket is very skillful. No. The skill here is the dexterity, dexterity in interpreting samanya dharma. That is the skill here, in not transgressing dharma no matter what happens. That is the second component of yoga, because the very important aspect of yoga in terms of how to prepare for this knowledge and also how to assimilate this knowledge, is through getting to a place where I have certain nirodha, boundaries of what I do not transgress when I interact in the world. I do not transgress the universal matrix of norms called Samanya Dharma. And Samanya Dharma is very simple. I don't want to be lied to, so therefore I don't lie. I don't want to be cheated. I don't cheat others. I don't want my property to be taken away. Therefore I respect other people's property. This is simple, but not so simple, and it is something to be accomplished. That's why dharma is the first purushartha, first goal to be accomplished. And you may say, that is not, I don't particularly want to be dharmic. I want artha kama. I want, security. I want all these other things. If you say, you want other people to be dharmic towards you, correct? That's why indirectly it becomes the first purushartha. You want people to be kind to you. When you go, doors should open, and if you drop something, people should pick it and give it to you. So therefore dharma is loved by everyone. Everyone loves dharma. It's the first purushartha to accomplish before anything else. And so therefore what? So therefore we have to, this yoga karmasu kaushalam means becoming accomplished in samanya dharma, and then being able to then interpret that dharma in the in the context of in the various contexts, in certain context, according to date, time, place, etc. Because according to certain time and place, there is some kind of a, what's the word for it, some time and place, there is some kind of a, not a kind of a diluting of the dharma, but an active interpretation. So even if you say, satyam vada, speak the truth, but then you tell the doctor who is treating, your grandfather or grandmother, the doctor says, well, the cancer is terminal, nothing can be done except some palliative measures. You say that, and then what? Then you have some palliative measures, and then you request the doctor, please don't tell grandmother that, she will not be able to take it. And the doctor says, no, grandma, nothing is wrong with you, go about your life, sab theek hai. The doctor is telling a lie, and you are asking the doctor to tell a lie. How is this dharma? It is dharma because you're not benefiting from the lie. Yoga karmasu kaushalam, this kushalata again. And in both these definitions there is a sense of sacrifice, there is growth in giving up, there is and in letting go there is yoga. Very paradoxical. You let go in order for a greater unification. A greater unification is a bigger unification, and a bigger and what is this big unification? The only yearning that is there in the heart of every human being, whether they are born in India, whether they are born in America or anywhere, doesn't matter. And the only yearning is to be one with the whole. That is what it is. And of course, sometimes we get stuck with laddus and we confuse the finite for the infinite. This is what the whole thing is. And that is why we need the third definition of yoga, very important and often missed, because it is situated in the 6th chapter. Tam vidyat, tam vidyat dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samgitam. Know this to be yoga. What is this yoga? Yoga samgitam. This is called yoga. What is this? Yoga is, dissociation from association with sorrow. Beautiful, so paradoxical. And this is the most practical way to be. And I love this definition of yoga. And and so how do you, what is this association? Association with sorrow is swabhavika. Somehow, one, as a jiva, one is a sorrow magnet. you know One looks for all kinds of, one looks for all kinds of excuses. Eh, all I need is some excuses. If nothing is there, I'll sit in front of a sad movie and cry. So there is some kind of a way in which the jiva gets, like they say, like attracts like. So jiva means Ishvara with a big complex. Okay, yeah. So Ishvara with several complexes, here, who has, as though Vismrita, forgotten one's nature due to this self-ignorance, sits and has a lot of complex. And then, you give me any word, I can make you sad right now. I keep telling people, you know, any word. Oh, somebody said happiness. Well, okay, happiness, where is that? How come it is so elusive? Oh, happiness, where are you? Why are you away from me? You know. What about the word flower? Flower makes everybody happy. How can you make me sad when I say the word flower? I can make you sad when I say the word flower very quickly. Because I can tell you that the flower industry in Colombia, is full of pesticides, and you should see the workers, and all of them have, lesions in their fingers, and they're inhaling those pesticides. There's a great incidence of cancer. They don't have health insurance. They are day-to-day workers. And now next time you want to buy flowers, you'll think twice. And you're already sad because your heart goes out. The heart of everybody is empathy. There is human empathy. So naturally you're in their shoes, you're worried about their children, you're worried about the workers, you're worried about all the things in order to just enjoy one rose, when rose daily, you have to enjoy one rose. What all goes into it? How much pain, how much sorrow, how much water is diverted so that the people don't have, enough for crops. This is what the whole thing is. So you see, this is how the world is. You look at the world and it doesn't take long to feel sad. I tell you, especially now in this pandemic, you look everywhere, death rates, resurging cases, all these things. But then Bhagavan says, yoga is dissociation from association with sorrow. That means what? Should I become all aloof and, don't look to the left, don't look to the right? I have to keep sorrow like I keep corona at bay, physical distancing, and then I have to just, keep washing the hands, There is some truth to that. But it is not about aloofness. It is about the yoga of letting go. This is the third one. The third definition can be called yoga of letting go. Anuradha, how much time do I have?
Another 10 minutes easily, I think.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, very generous of you. Thank you so much. So, 10 minutes is a long time. We can do a lot. So, so this is the whole idea. How to let go in order to be one with myself. One with the truth of myself, in order to be one with the Jagat, one with the Karta of the Jagat, with Bhagavan, in order to enjoy that oneness. How to let go? And why should I let go? Because there is no room for two in this oneness. Yeah. This Dvaita. Dvaita dhi bhayam bhavati. This Dvaita is the cause of fear. Fear is the cause of sorrow. The Upanishad, this is all Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And then same thing in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Utaram antaram kurute athatasya bhayam bhavati. Even if you make a razor's edge separation between you and the other, there is fear. So therefore, there is, all this, it brings us to the brink of something which is very important and very, crucial to our understanding, is that in this oneness that we are talking about, there is not a buffet. I'll have my little life and then I'll have a taste of moksha. very tasty. Then I'll go back to my little life, and then a little bit of moksha, little bit of jiva, little bit of Ishvara. This is not some cha-cha-cha dance, it's not a buffet. Ishvara is not an appetizer. Yeah, Bhagavan is you. It's the whole thing. No, but what will happen to me? What will happen to all the nice things that I want in life? Sarvan kaman samashnute. Taittiriya Upanishad says, knowing this one thing as yourself, Brahmavida apnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam jnanamanantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः brahmana vipashchiteti. This is the promise of the Upanishad. And if some roadside person makes a promise to you, you can suspect, okay, will this person come through or not? But if Bhagavan makes a promise, you have to sit up and, somewhere you have to have some Shraddha and listen. And what is this promise? The one who knows Brahman gains the ultimate, gains everything. And what is this Brahman? This Brahman is you in the form of that which exists, and you know you exist, and that you know you exist, that knowing itself is Chit, Jnanam. And how long do you exist? You exist forever. Body goes, you are there, and mind goes, you are there. And then, so that forever is Anantam, Ananda. And this Satchidanandam Brahma, this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and one who knows as what? Not as some object in the sky. Nihitam Guhayam Hridi. It knows one as residing in our own heart. And the one who knows that as residing, as Ishvara residing in the heart, then what? Sarvan kaman samashnute brahmana saha. So gains the whole, all the desires fall in place, all the desires are fulfilled. Every single desire is fulfilled. But still people doubt this. It's like this, a king of one small village in India, in middle India, Raipur, was suddenly woken up from sleep. And nowadays kings have no this thing. In India, kings are nothing. They come in cycle rickshaws in small kingdoms. Yeah. I was there with Swamiji once, and then we were going to inaugurate some small library, Sanskrit manuscript library, and then Maharaja, Dhiraj, aa rahe hai, all this big pageantry, and people in all this livery came and announced, and I thought, okay, car will come, something will come. The king came in one cycle rickshaw, Of course, it had all some pom-poms on it, and a very decorated cycle rickshaw, but, like a little tuk-tuk, manual tuk-tuk came in that. So, but anyhow, so this king of Raipur is woken up one day and told, guess what? You're the whole king of all of India. Oh, me? This little king of Raipur, all of India I am? King? Yes. But then, after 2 minutes of jumping up and down, the fellow felt very sad. The king. What happened? What happened? Why? Why are you sad? You're the king of all of India. Here is your crown. Well, what about Raipur? Will I still be the king of Raipur? That was his problem. In fact, it's easy to laugh at him. That's all our problems. This is what will I have to give up? You give up the smallness. You give up the misery. There's no room for two. And this is very much, I'll conclude on this note, it is very well illustrated both in the Kathopanishad and in the Mundakopanishad. In the Kathopanishad we have Ritam pibantau sukritasya loke guham pravishtau parame parardhe chaya tapau brahmavido vadanti. So in the Kathopanishad we have an imagery of two people having entered a cave. It's actually a bar, okay? Because they are drinking. Pibantau, dual. They are both drinking. Both of them are drinking. No, only one is drinking. But the other one, by Sahavasa dosha, is also included because of association. Only one is drinking. What is this fellow drinking? Karma cocktail, little bit of papa, little bit of punya, nicely shaken. And who is the bartender? Chitragupta, Bhagavan, in the form of the giver of the karma phala, is doling out this cocktail. The person takes a sip, it's so bitter. Then some nice exotic sweetness comes, and is addicted to that sweetness, keeps on drinking, becomes a karma phala holic. This is what happens. Is addicted to the results of action. But then Brahma Vidaha, the people who know, the people who know this say one is shadow, one is real, the other is just a shadow personality. Very important for us in these days to understand and love up and integrate the shadow personality. And that integration is yoga. And the Mundaka Upanishad, same thing. Dva Suparna, Sayuja Sakhayaha, Sayujau Sakhayau, it should be actually, but we don't correct the Veda, but this is just for our understanding. So two birds of the same hue with shining wings, Parishashva Jate, they embrace each other, they love each other. And then what? Then the story takes a very interesting turn. One of them is addicted to the pippala, swadu pippalam atti, keeps on eating the tasty berries, or so it thinks it should be tasty, but most of them are rotten, bitter, and then some of them are left over after other birds have gone through them. Residual berries. A very, very sad situation. And then, and then what? And the other one is just watching. Abhichakashiti. And that word abhichakashi, from chakastra, deeptau, to watch, is to shine the light. So one is what? The complaining jiva, the one who is running around, I want this, I want that, and the other one is, that Bhagavan self, just watching, just sustaining, satta spurti pradhanena, through the, it blesses, it sustains the actions, it's self-actionless. And so until the jiva stops running around, Ishvara darshanam doesn't take place, as I have said many times. So all the prayers for us as jignasus, as mumukshus, as desires for freedom, desirers of knowledge should be, O Lord, let there be more of you in me, less of me. Less of jiva means more compassion, more accommodation, more samatvam, more shraddha, more bhakti, more contentment. And from this place, I am poised to have your darshan. There is no place for two in Vedanta. There is only place for one, and that one happens to be you. So now my message is, let today be the auspicious day where you finally make room for the truth of yourself. Thank you. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you for inviting me.
Swaminiji, I think I would be speaking everybody's heart and mind here when I say that this is one of the most delightful and blissful presentations that we've ever heard on the Bhagavad Gita, and put in such a simple manner that is very, very accessible for all generations. Normally when we think of the Gita, it is like, the simple text of Arjuna faced with this dilemma, the worst crisis of his life. He has to kill everybody, or his beloved people, and then the challenge that is faced by him. But the way you've made it appear is something that I think all of us is ready to go into it with a lot more confidence and joy, really. So thank you very much. I love the Jiva is the Ishvara with a complex. So
yeah, it's all Guru's grace, his words,
Yes,
I'm just the microphone, that's all.
Yes, we also had one of our participants here who said that she relived the presence of Kalpana ji. Said, I'm so blessed to see my Guru Pujya Swami ji Dayananda Saraswati ji. So I think that was communicated very concretely to the audience. And all of us who've not had the good fortune of being in his satsanga more often have had a taste of that divine presence. So thank you very much for giving us that connection.
Om.
A very great soul.
Yes. Have you met him?
I've met him, yes, but
Oh, okay, okay.
never had. We've heard just so much of him. We've heard
Yes.
so much about him, but never had the good fortune of spending enough time to be so
Right, right,
wisdom and joy. I think that's what
right.
so much of joy in this serious knowledge, profound
Yes.
knowledge. Thank you. So, Swamini, there are a lot of questions as
Pranam,
Sure,
pranam,
sure.
Swamiji. Swamini, pranam.
Om.
Hariji is here.
Oh, namaskar.
How are you,
Wonderful to
Swamini?
see you. I am very happy to see you. I'm great.
All your blessings, Swamini. We have now this after the Oneness Festival. This yoga festival is going on so well.
You are
Today, I think
amazing.
it's going on so well. We are now going to extend it also,
Yes.
and so all the blessings of Pujya Swamiji, your blessings. I'm so happy.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I said we could have also continued this session forever, I think, and everybody would have been glued to their sets, to their computer. But I'll just move on to some questions.
Go ahead.
So we have somebody saying that yoga, you said, is the art of letting go.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the loss of a loved one? Parents.
Yeah. So this is a very important, area, because you see, the thing is, when a loved one is gone, and especially this is very pertinent right now with all this coronavirus and so many deaths in the world. When a person is gone, there is a void. Why? Because you don't stop being a spouse, a daughter, a son, a mother, whatever it is. But that person, you are continuing with that role. Your role is still there, but suddenly there is no person at the receiving end of that role. That's why there is that void, and you miss the person's presence a lot in life. See, it's very important. See, letting go is a process. You can't suddenly order the mind to stop grieving. And and it took, let us see, it took Arjuna 700 odd verses and 18 chapters to really let go of his grief. Arjuna Vishada, correct? So why are we in a hurry? And that's why in the tradition we take a long time to just grieve. So we have all these rituals, 10th day ritual, 13th day ritual, after 1 month, after 3 months, like we take a whole year. And there are certain rules of how to grieve. And after 1 year, then you come out of that grief. So you give yourself the time. And the nice way to do it, especially if it's a parent, if you're talking of a loss of a parent or something like that, you see them as guiding you. You see them as one with Ishvara. You see them, you think of all the, wonderful things, and you live through the memories. You write out the grief. You keep the, best things in your mind. And even if the relationship was fraught with a lot of ups and downs and difficulties, then also there is grief, because you feel like it is ended abruptly, and there is not enough time to say goodbye, not enough time to air out the grievances. But still, there also what you do is you make sure that you write it out. You can still converse with the person, you can write it out, you can talk it out, and through this, there is a kind of a process of healing. And it's very important to see Bhagavan as the altar of surrender. And even if you're angry that somebody has been taken away from you, direct the anger towards Bhagavan. For us, that becomes a prayer. You can call Bhagavan names. Oh, you idiot, how could you do this to me? It's a prayer. In our tradition, it's not blasphemy at all. It's a great prayer. So, and Bhagavan is a super therapist. That's why all our, iconography, they're all smiling and they're all doing like this. Don't fear, Abhaya Mudra. I'm here. Don't fear. You are okay. I'm okay. Everything is okay. And so you can get angry because the person is not talking back. It's wonderful. It's therapy. And this therapy, you don't have to pay. And 1 hour is 1 hour. It's not 50 minutes. And so it is wonderful. You can spend time at your altar. And that's why it's called an altar of surrender, because it has the power to alter you. That's why it's called altar. It will alter. So slowly, and this is Sharanagati. So when you do Sharanagati to Bhagavan, you get insights into yourself. You grow up. You grow emotionally, and even through the sorrow, you have space to notice everything around you that is beautiful, that is in the moment, etc.
Thank you very much. I will just try and club a few questions together
Sure, please do that.
around the theme of acceptance. So I'll just mention
Around the theme of, I lost you there. What was that?
acceptance. Acceptance.
Acceptance. Yes.
Yes. So we have Durai Raji who's saying that the current pandemic situation where most of the people are feeling low mentally because of the lockdown, fear,
Yeah.
agency of life, a message
Yeah.
to them on how they can cope with this.
Yeah.
Another one by Debraji, very regular participant. She's saying that it's a mundane question for a learned person like you, but how do you accept the possibility of being forced to accept something abhorrent to the self and belief? Like, for example, the enforcement of social control and medication which contains poison. And then, so how would you?
Yeah. Acceptance means things that we cannot change. That is what we are talking about. First thing we have to understand. If you can change, please go ahead and change. Nobody is saying sit and cry and say this is what it is. And we are not talking of violence and social control. Obviously, that's why there are protests. There are Black Lives Matter protests all over the world. There are protests against injustice. All those are valid because that is there. We may not get what we want, but we can definitely act in our own, in our own right. We can do that. But things which cannot or do not change, at least right now, then for that we learn to accept. We accept the inevitable and see the inevitable as Bhagavan. And coming to the coronavirus, that's why I call it Karuna virus. It is helping us to be, it is Bhagavan, it is an avatara of Bhagavan. Because, in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, I will come. There is neglect of dharma, when people are not treating each other nicely, when the universe is at a tipping point, ecologically, in every single way, I will come and write this. And this is Bhagavan writing this. Bhagavan we think Bhagavan has to have some crown. Actually, that's why it's called coronavirus, because it has crown. It has, if you look at the molecular structure, it has a crown. So it is Bhagavan with a crown. And so it is a very interesting form of Bhagavan. It is first taking away all the things that doesn't belong. It's clearing, and it is setting some things in place for a new order, social, economic, ecological. And yes, there are casualties, there are calamities, but that's also part of the law of karma. So then, what do we have against the coronavirus? Science tells us keep away and then do shaucham. Wash your hands all the time. So here we take it inner shaucham. We take the lockdown. Instead of having lockdown blues, we take it time for mantra japa, for, self growth, where everything is taken away. No movies, no bars, no restaurants, nothing. What do? You learn Atmani eva Atmana tushta. You become a sthita prajna. You learn to, you learn to entertain yourself. You find yourself entertaining, and then what? And this is the time, you can binge watch some show, no problem. You can do that. But then after a while, even watching TV shows becomes boring. And that's why we have yoga festival, we have oneness festival, and that's why the yoga festival has been extended, because the lockdown is also extended now. So in tandem with that, so now this is the time to grow, because there's not much else to do. Bhagavan is taking away all distractions, so you can have Bhagavan's darshan right in the space of the heart.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you just for allowing us to feel that, or allow that the possibility of this negative situation to create a positive space for ourselves.
Yeah.
Giving that message of hope. There are some questions related to the theory of karma.
Yeah.
I'll again club 2-3 questions. We have a
Sure.
question, Ravindra Ji, who's saying that on one hand, everything is God-given and seems very deterministic. On the other
Yeah.
hand, you're saying that you are creating your karma because of free will. Is there not
Yeah.
a dichotomy in what you're saying? And I would submit to you that ultimately everything, including your thoughts, discrimination, choice, karma, is determined by God. And
Yeah.
and a similar question by Dr. Jayaprakash Gupta ji from Sydney. He's saying that is the law of karma deterministic, and at what point one says, as you say, maybe the next birth, and is that escapism from your dharma or effort that one should make?
Yeah, it's not. I'll start with the last one first. It's not escapism. Karma gives you shock absorber. Yeah, it doesn't. There's no escape. In fact, one thing about karma, we know it's there is no escape. It is there. It is there to be. Asmin janmani janmantareva. It is there either in this life or next life waiting. And then about the deterministic, I don't like the word deterministic. There is no such thing, because when we say it is determined by God, we are ascribing action to God. And in the Vedic tradition, what we call God is free of action. Yeah, free of being karta, free of being bhokta, and that is you. You are also free of action. And then, of course, to understand that requires a lot more instruction in Vedanta and all this, and a lot more preparation. But for now, what we have to say is that we have say over action, but not over the results. So then the results are there and they look determined. But really speaking, when you look at the longue durée, when you look at the whole situation from life after life after life, it is what it's like the burnt khichdi. You burn the khichdi, you have to eat the khichdi. It is simple as that. So then, but then if you say, how come I burnt the khichdi? Was it because of some was it because of some previous karma? Even Lord Krishna throws up his hands in the fourth chapter and says, Gahana karmano gatihi. The ways of karma are extremely mesmerizing and mysterious and cannot be, it's like which came first? Chicken came first or egg came first? This is something which cannot, and it is futile to go into this, because ultimately karma is a model. It's a model to be able to walk on the road of dharma. It's like, like when you have a child, it's you buy your child a bicycle, but then it doesn't know how to balance. It has some training wheels on either side, and then and the child learns to ride, and then after that the training wheels come off. That's what this is. So the karma is a model. So once dharma is internalized, then you are naturally dharmic, and you don't. Karma is a model. It's given up ultimately. So therefore, we don't keep, focusing on that which is ultimately is just a tool. So the tool, if I point a finger and say, please look there, you're supposed to look there. But if you start looking at my finger and examining it under a microscope, then the point is lost. So karma is a model. It is leading you to Bhagavan from the standpoint of the one who feels alienated.
Wonderful. I mean, we have a comment here by Karthik ji, who's saying that Swamini ji's name is Svatmavidyananda, the giver of knowledge of the self, and in many ways you've acted as that pointer towards for us towards our deeper self. So thank you very much, and that also in such a blissful, easy, accessible manner. So I would just like to again put a few questions together. And this is on the question of the dissociation and association that you talked about. So
Yeah.
we have Juan Maldonado from Mexico who's saying, could you explain a little bit more about this dissociation of association of sorrow? And also the question has another echo by a participant who's saying that how do you really make this connection?
Uh-huh.
And if you can give the Sanskrit verse.
Yeah.
To hear the verse again, and then if you could elaborate on it, please.
Yeah. Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samyitam sanishchagena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa. This is the verse. Okay, I forgot the number. Anuradha will tell you. Yeah, so she can look it up and tell you. And then 20 something, 6th chapter, 20 something verses in the early 20s, somewhere it is. And so Dissociation from association with sorrow. Sorrow is like a body on its own. It comprises what we call the unconscious or the shadow self. The shadow self is that which is like a Rahu, like an eclipse that is, that is covering the light of the Atma, the light of who you are, who you simply are, your glory. And so the shadow, the sorrow is an interloper. Anger is an interloper. Fear is an interloper. All these emotions, they constitute their own body. We call it the inner child. We can call it the unconscious mind or the shadow self. And what is the raw material of the shadow self? The raw material of the shadow self is basically, unmet desires, unmeetable desires. For example, like a balloon that was there. When you were 2, you were given a balloon. And the elder sibling, tried to snatch the balloon, and you also wanted the balloon. There was a big bang. And in the big bang, the balloon burst. You were scared, you cried. And maybe, and that has had a lasting effect on you. And even though you love your elder sibling, still somehow there is this, rivalry, competition, fear, and there is a rankling resentment at the mother. Where were you? Why didn't you stop this? What were you doing? And then what? And then even, at your 20th birthday, you are given 20 balloons. It's not the same. You want that balloon. Tad deshakala vishishta balloon, you want, so maybe it should be neuter balloonam, you want. So therefore, and it is a frozen need, an unmeetable need. But yet that rankling sorrow is there. Bhagavan says, dissociate from that. Look upon that as from the standpoint of Bhagavan, from the standpoint of a parent looking at a young child, an inconsolably crying child. The child says, I want to play, but the mother knows it is tired, it needs to be put to bed. So the mother will nicely smile even though the child is crying its eyes out. And so that's what you have to do. You have to be the adult and say, this was then, that was then, this is now. And to make it into a twist, you can say, that was then, this is now. You can say that also. And you could just, you be the parent. You have that inner space with the help of meditation, with the help of classes like these, with the help of a deeper immersion into Vedanta. You have that inner space to look upon that crying one without identifying with it. That is how to dissociate from associating with sorrow. That association is swabhavika, the dissociation is aupadeshika, is through the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. It has to be cultivated.
So there's work to be done. We really recommend that our participants stay with this global festival of yoga to get more tips on how this dissociation with the association of sorrow can be achieved through the teachings of various experts and teachers like Swamini ji herself. So do stay with us. And there's another question here, again related to karma a little bit, to karma directly, and it says that Sarika ji is saying that why does karma get carried over to other lives? Is there a purpose in this carryover? And it doesn't sound fair to be accountable for something that you have no memory of.
Absolutely. It's so unfair. I tell you. It's just such a bad setup. What is this? What is this all about? Even the Kathopanishad complains like this. You have put our eyes facing outwards, ears facing outwards, and then you want us to go within. Vyatrinat swayambhuhu. Oh Lord, you have destroyed us, as it were. You have destroyed all of us. What kind of a setup is this karma? But I tell you, the loss of memory between one life and another, we start to look at it as a blessing, really. Because, I tell you, already so many omissions and commissions with regard to the parents, with regard to other things. Why did I do this? Why didn't I do this? Kimaham sadhu na karavam. Kimaham papamakaravamiti. Why didn't I do the right thing? Why did I do the wrong thing? See, translated for you with swaras. Yeah. So this is the lament of the jiva. Even one life of guilt and hurt we cannot come to grips with. Imagine if you knew that, as a dog in the last life you abandoned several litters of puppies. How are you going to how are you going to come to terms? Think of the sorrow with relation to the puppies. Think of the sorrow with relation to some parent you abandoned, somebody you were wronging. So therefore, the Bhagavad Shakti in the form of the all compassionate Maya Shakti here puts a cover, puts a kavacha in between one life and another, so you can have a fresh start. You can have a fresh start. Some thorn of memory will be there, some deja vu will be there, some sense will be there. And when karma hits, you become more prayerful, you become more accommodative, because all we want is to grow spiritually. And if you remember all the things you have done, in every single lifetime, then there is no possibility of growth. You will be under the covers, you will not even come out.
Yes, I mean, there's another very beautiful book by Edgar Cayce. It's on Edgar Cayce's called Dimensions. He, under hypnosis, talked about many of these things, and he talks of the Akashic records where everything is recorded. And he says that the purpose ultimately is to go beyond our patterns and to find ourselves.
Yes.
So in that connection, it's a very basic question, but it's something that you've been putting as a bait consistently in front of all of us through your sharing. Is that what exactly is this Brahma Vidya?
Yeah. So, Brahma Vidya is knowing yourself as, as free of all actions, all desires, all results of action, as one with everything that you see, one with the whole universe and the maker of the universe as well. Knowing yourself as the whole, knowing yourself as Ishvara. That is Brahma Vidya. Knowing yourself as Brahman, which is Ishvara. This is what is Brahma Vidya. So this Brahma Vidya is, is the ultimate goal. This is what is called moksha, freedom. The ultimate goal is freedom, Shreyas Moksha, known by many names. And that freedom is from a sense of bondage, from a sense of discontent centered on the self. And you can stave off the discontent through movies, through going to movies, malls, all these things, malls, balls and movies. They help you stave it off for a few hours or for a few lifetimes, but it is always there rankling. This Brahma Vidya, which is known through study of Vedanta, is the ultimate, way to right this self-ignorance. It's not that you are not Brahman, you are already Brahman, but what is missing is the knowledge. Because there is the Rahu, the eclipse of self-ignorance, which is cleared out through this self-knowledge.
Swamini ji, thank you for that clarification. Now, I have the hard task here. You've spoken of the dissociation of the association with sorrow. I have the harder task of now having to dissociate everybody's association with your joyful state.
No need to dissociate, because the my joyful state is your joyful state.
People want to know the secret. So Sita ji is saying, how do you reach the joyous state that you are in now?
Yeah, it is already you. Just think back on how you felt now. Think back how you feel when you see a small child smiling, when you see a flower. That is your truth. That is your truth. Everything else is just the inner child. And the inner child cannot be, locked up or banished or punished or put in detention. It has to be loved up. It has to be integrated. And that's a process. You have to still continue to be the loving, compassionate parent and take help from Bhagavan. This is what it is. And see the humor in the situation. Nothing is as serious as it sounds. Nothing has to be. Just laugh it off. And when you laugh, somebody said the whole world laughs with you. But when you cry also, misery loves company, okay? But a wrong kind of company. So better to laugh. Laugh it off.
I mean, there is one even more overarching question here, which is by Tanya ji, who's saying that, that if the whole goal is to be moksha, to be free, we are our joyful self, then why this game of getting stuck in these repeated circles of life and death, which apparently have so much of sorrow in it. So why?
Yeah.
And they seem people have eyes, but we can't seem to see. This is by Vijayaji saying, we have the eyes, but we can't see these truths. So what
Yeah.
your advice?
Yeah. Yeah, see, the thing is, the ultimate goal is moksha. Then, without a life, without having a body, you cannot pursue moksha. So, instead of bhoga yatana, you have to convert it into yoga yatana, this body mind complex. So, you have to make it into a vehicle for yoga, a vehicle for moksha. So, that requires a little tinkering, yeah. So you've given a body, and it is running off, in the form of sense objects and all these things. You have to train it. That's why we have the whole metaphor in the Bhagavad Gita. The reins are the mind. The Sarathi is Lord. The Buddhi is the Lord who is directing it. And you sit back, relax. Let Bhagavan direct you. Bhagavan here means Dharma. Direct you. And so therefore, it looks like a setup, but it is not really a setup, because you are already free. You have to know it. This is not, Brahma Vidya is not action, it is knowledge. That's why it is nothing to do. You have to sit back, relax, enjoy the teachings. And you have to make yourself worthy of qualifying for the teachings. That is the main thing. And that is what we talked about today through the 3 definitions of yoga.
Yes, Swaminiji. So we have to be worthy of the teachings and also of getting the satsanga of teachers like you, I guess. So if you could please tell us how participants could reach out to you, hear your teaching. You had put
Yeah, sure. You can, you can write to me. I have given the what's that? I have given the email there in the chat pod. And then what else? The website ashram is of the ashram also I'll give. And then there is a place where all the live stream, there is a live stream there, all the talks are archived. You can listen anytime you want. No problem.
Yes. So thank you very much. There was another question about the Prasthanatraya and how they help us overcome the law of karma, but that's a whole topic for another.
Yeah, email me. I will answer Prasthanatraya.
Yes.
Yeah, email that question.
Thank you very much. The beautiful, delightful insights you have shared with us. I would like to just make the announcements for the next day, for the rest of the day's programs, and
Sure.
I'll come back to you for a message that you'd like to share with all of us.
Okay.
Srinivasji, could you please put up the poster? So in the afternoon, we have a practical session on yoga for back care and its therapeutic aspects by Omkarji. Omkar has already been on our show as an anchor, so you're already familiar with him. So he's a yoga teacher and a therapist, and he's also part of our Indica yoga team. So when we've been doing these sessions on the practical, the asana sessions and all, we often get asked about questions regarding to pain in specific areas, especially the back. So for those of you who need to know more about this, please make sure that you're joining in for this session. Thank you. So we'll look at at night, we have another wonderful presentation by Dr. Lorenzo Cohen, who's the director of the Integrative Medicine Program at the University of Texas, the MD Anderson Cancer Center from the USA. So he's going to be talking on yoga as a way to transform your life and health. We had a talk by by Smita Malya-ji a few days back, and she spoke to us about how yoga can help for cancer patients and their post-care treatment, etc. So Dr. Lorenzo Cohen has spent many years in detailed research on this relationship of yoga and its benefits, especially for cancer patients. So please make sure that you're listening to this, because more than just being cures, etc., these are also talking about ways in which we can prevent these things from coming on, problems like cancer, etc. So please make sure that you're staying with us. All these lectures will be available on indicayoga.com. They'll be available on Indica Yoga YouTube channel, as well as on the Indica Yoga the Indica Yoga Facebook page. So if you've missed any of these, please feel free to catch up on them. We are asking a lot of your screen time, but as Swamini ji was saying, that it's better to spend screen time probably with instructions and teachings that are helping you discover the way in rather than the distractions of the way out. So dip into these pearls of wisdom that you're receiving. Swamini ji, may I come back to you for some advice, some message that you would have for our participants?
Yes, we are going through some unprecedented times. This is a very important sandhi in terms of, like a wake up call. Sandhi means like a joining of, like the time between a cusp. Sandhi is a cusp between two periods of time. So up till now we had come along in our consumerist ways, in our ways of just, keeping on, furthering some kind of an individual, our own, whatever, each one to oneself, that kind of a thing. And now we are faced, to use a Kshatriya metaphor, an enemy, so to speak, because this is how it is talked about, that this coronavirus is an enemy. But it's an enemy you defeat by sitting absolutely still. Yeah, very interesting. You sit really samam kaya shiro grivam, the head, neck and back in a single straight line. You absolutely sit still. That is how to quote unquote defeat this enemy. Very interesting. And like I said, shaucham. So the outer washing of the hands is accompanied by an inner purification. These two things are very, very important. And this is a time of self-growth for those who want it, for those who desire it, a time of breaking free from the shadows, the tyranny of the patterns of the shadow self. And when the shadow self tries to run your life, this is a time to separate from that. This is the time to question some of the things you have always been doing just because your parents did it, your grandparents did it, but it was not in your interest. But this is the time to look into that. This is the time to, initiate that period of self-growth. Above all, this is the time where compassion reigns, and compassion starts with self-compassion. Be kind to your body, be kind to your mind, be kind to yourself. Yeah, and then everything will follow. Om Tat Sat. Mute. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Swami.
I said, after your brilliant presentation, many of us are muted. So that that was symbolic of a deeper experience that we've all undergone for this past 1.5 hours. There's an outpouring of gratitude, and that's very expressive of what we feel. Thank you very much for having blessed us with this occasion, with this presentation.
Thank you. Wonderful. Ruku has done a wonderful job. Really nice. Thank you. Om.